by the way, Emefiele came to my house.
The former CBN governor?
Yes. I said, how did you know my house? He said it was sent to me by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I said, you are lying. Because the last time Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited me, I was in Akko Legislative Quarters. He has not been to this place. How will he send you to me that you will know this place? And he said, well, if I want to get you, all I need to get is get Rauf. I said, okay, hold on. So I called Rauf. I said, look, this man is here. Rauf said, yes, please attend to him. Give him everything he wants. I was instrumental to the confirmation of Emefiele as the chairman, as the governor of Central Bank. And guess what? Because at that time, there were enough votes to kill his nomination. If I tell you the who is who of the Nigerian Senate who are opposed to Emefiele, you'll be shocked. But we got him confirmed. It wasn't easy. We got him confirmed. When Buhari now became president, we were quartered in Hilton Hotel. Again, I don't know how he knew my room. Even when he came to my room, he was shaking like jellyfish. I said, what's wrong? He said, Egbon, they are after me. Ah, who are after you? He mentioned them. And he mentioned how much he had given these people who were after him. So I said, so why are you telling me? Go and tell the police. He said, I cannot tell the police. I said, if you cannot tell the police, it means you have done something wrong. If they're after you, as governor of Central Bank, the Nigerian police owes you a duty to protect you. If they are after you, what will I do to protect you? He said, I just want you to know in case anything happens to me. I said, you're a fool. You mustn't let anything happen to you. You must tell. And I will tell. He said, don't tell. That evening, I went to Rauf. And I told Rauf. Rauf said, this is not what I can handle. You must go to Asiwaju. I said, no. I don't want to go to Asiwaju. If Asiwaju gets angry and calls a press conference, the whole thing will blow. He said, no. I said, look, I don't want to get into it. If anything happens, Asiwaju has resources to protect himself. I'm an orphan. I don't have a father. I don't have a mother. I don't want anything to happen to me. Anyway, Asiwaju said, in that case, let's go and tell Babakande. So we went to Babakande. I went to Babakande. Babakande said, this is too much. We must tell Asiwaju. So I said, okay. Before we tell Asiwaju, let's get him not to be angry. This thing doesn't require gra-gra. Otherwise, they might kill Emefiele.
Who are those after him?
I cannot.
Are they politicians?
3 of them are politicians, yes.
They were after him. Were they in government at the time?
My friend, they were politicians and they were extorting him. You've not heard of the story. So we decided to go and tell Buhari. It was the very weekend that Buhari was sworn into office. So Chief Akande and I went to Buhari. We got there, we met the governor of Niger State. His first day in office, he hadn't moved to the villa at that time. He was still in that holding place. I was the first person that spoke to Buhari when he resumed duty as president. And I told him the story. He said, how many people had we told? We didn't tell him that we had told Asiwaju and that we had told Rauf. I said, look, this is the only one I've told.
This was in 2015?
Yes. I said 2 days after I became president. We saw him 2 days previously at the Eagle Square. 2 days was this. The following day were all kind of parties and receptions. And
it was May 31.
Yes. So we went to him. So He said, okay, I'm asking you one favor. Don't tell anybody. And we promise we won't tell anybody. We left him to go out. And they allowed Chief Akande to pass. And they said, I cannot go. I said, why couldn't I go? He said, the president wants to see me again. Hey. I said, I don't enter trouble. I went back to the president. What have I done that you allowed Chief Akande to go and you didn't allow me to go? And he said, you came and told me this story. I said, yes. He then said, what did I tell you? I said, you told me and Chief Akande not to tell anybody. He said, good, you remember, you can go. I said, no, I'm not going. What you are saying by implication is that if this story broke out, you will hold me responsible. Abba, that's not fair. And he said, let me tell you why. I believe the story would not leak from Chief Akande. That's what he told me. He said, because Chief Akande has been governor. He has been deputy governor. He has been secretary of government. Chief Akande knows how to hold state secrets. He said, you're a professor, professor. He said, I don't want this thing to leak. Well, the story never leaked from me. Now I'm telling the whole world. But 1 year went, nothing happened to these people. 2 years went, nothing happened to these people. 3 years went, nothing happened to these people. In fact, one of them his profile was rising in the politics. As the election was coming for Buhari, I went to him. And I said, Baba, you didn't do anything you promised to do about the report I brought to you on your first day of office. Buhari told me, Prof, if you know what favor you have done this country, you should be given a national award. I said, I don't have to know. You are the president. Give me the national award, since you know what I have done. And I said, but what has happened to the people that I came to report to you? He said he summoned Emefiele. And Emefiele told him far more than he told me. And Emefiele, by the time he finished talking to Buhari, disclosed that whatever amount I was reporting to Buhari was like chicken feed. Because I was only reporting maybe billions of naira. Now they were talking of billions of dollars.
They were being siphoned using the... you said that the man was being extorted.
Yes.
So they were collecting the money directly from CBN. Is that the case? Was that the case?
I wasn't there. I didn't know how they were collecting.
But based on what you said, Emefiele told you.
That's what he told me. But what you want to hear is what I'm about to say now. Is that whatever amount those people had extorted amounted to nothing compared with what Emefiele disclosed to President Buhari as the money that had been given to the then National Security Advisor.
Who was that?
Dasuki. And that President Buhari told me that he didn't care how many times the court would rule that he would not release Dasuki, because how could he explain the money that were traced to him? I don't know how security budget is financed. But at that time, what the newspaper reported was about $72 billion. And that amount became the focus of government to retrieve, rather than the chicken feed that I had reported to the president. So, Gbajabiamila being speaker, in any case, I consider Femi Gbajabiamila a good friend, and I consider his rise in politics to have emanated from my effort. Because when we were in the House of Rep, I was the one who stepped down for him to become the head of the opposition to Obasanjo's third-term agenda.
And you were very vocal at the time.
Me? I was the most vocal, the only person in this country, in the House of Reps, who worked harder than I did in the House of Reps. Than myself was Usman Bugaje. No other person can claim priority of place over me in that struggle to stop Obasanjo.
Do you regret it?
To stop Obasanjo? I'm glad we stopped it. If the same thing happens again, I will do the same thing. And the reason I didn't accept to lead that coalition was that I was the only member of my party who was in the House. And I felt that since Lagos had so many members, it was better to choose a man from Lagos. Ordinarily, we should have chosen Wumi Bewaji, but Wumi Bewaji had different issues at that time. And I was the one in Femi Gbajabiamila's absence. And I'm glad you raised this issue because I didn't come here to discuss it. But I was the one who in his absence said, look, if we must choose somebody, let the person come from Lagos. First, they are the biggest member within the Southwest. Second, we were confronting a Yoruba president. I felt that so as not to bring an ethnic coloration to the conflict, it's better to make the man who will lead it to be a Yoruba. I could not accept it, not because of fright. In fact, I suffered more than any Nigerian legislator because of third term. I did not live in my house for 2 years.
Why?
I escaped 5 assassination attempts. I will leave it at that.
I mean,
I was living, I can now disclose the name. I was living in the house of Julius Nyambere, Colonel Adebayo, Temi Harriman, a woman, Tam Brisby, and one other person. I lived in 5 houses. And thanks to Achiwaju, Brother Ahmed Tinubu, I went to him one day and I said, look, I need a bulletproof vehicle. And he told me what to do. One of the things he told me is, go and get many used cars. Different colors, different shapes, different. So if I was coming to your house, before I got to your house, I would have parked a car in your house. When I get to your gate, I will wind down, greet everybody. Everybody will know I came in green under Accord. Nobody will know that I had had maybe a Mercedes-Benz or a Toyota parked in your house in a different color, and I will escape, all windows wound up, without anybody knowing I'd left your house. That's how I lived my life for those 2 years.
In that struggle against third term.
In that struggle against third term.
What were those? Because a lot of those who were in the house at the time spoke about how they were trying to convince them. Other than the fact that there was a struggle, were there any kind of monies that exchanged hands, or those issues of corruption that happened on the floor against third term or for third term?
That was where my trouble began. I remember very well that the speaker said I was to lead a delegation of the House of Reps to a delegation in China. So I said, look, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't happen that a member of opposition would lead a delegation of parliament to a different country. I don't feel competent. In any case, I wasn't the leader of my party in Congress. Bewaji was. So if they wanted to pick a member of opposition, why not Bewaji? And then he said, oh, you know, he painted good pictures of how much he appreciated me and all that. So my ego was bloated. I said, okay, I'll go. I said, I'll go on one condition. You must give me 2 other members to go with me. I must give me some technocrats, some of the servants, some of the civil servants in National Assembly to go with me. I got to Amsterdam and I opened the newspaper and I knew that they has kept me away so as not to be present for what was supposed to be discussed at that time in the House. And forever, I'm grateful to Aminu Bello Masari, not only because he sent me away to protect my life, but secondly, because he also gave me plenty of coverage. And I cannot go into discussion. But Aminu Bello Masari protected my life.
So what was Aminu Masari, was he on the side against the third time agenda?
Well, because he was the speaker of the president, yes, he had to pretend to be the president, to be with the president. But I can tell you, he was against third term.
Were you offered money?
Of course, that was part of the problem. I was the one who broke the news. In fact, I'd given the news conferences twice, and the newspaper did not take it seriously. Sadly, in this country, sometimes, if you want your story to be on the front page of newspaper, believe me, you have got to pay for it. There were times I spoke in the house or made a motion, and certain people will comment on it, and when the newspapers will flash the headline the following day, those people who knew their way with the press will be conspicuously featured. That's okay. But in any case, I then went to Osogbo, where I knew I had influence. And I told them, look, this story is going to be big. And that time, I also gave money. I said, I want you to make it big. But don't make it big for 2 days. Let me escape. So I escaped. By the time I came back, I had broken the story of the meeting we had in Nakon Nunga, it was called this time, Nakon Nunga Hilton, now called Transcorp. And I broke the news that we met in the hall. The hall was filled to capacity to the extent that they had to move the barrier, Nasarawa all, I think, Nasarawa and Ondo, or Nasarawa and Ogun, two of those. Then, nobody brought money to Nakon Nunga Hotel. But as we were discussing, a principal officer of the house disclosed that the presidency had made plan to give each of us, no, I said I heard that the presidency had made plan to give each of us 50 million naira. That principal officer corrected me and said it was not going to be 50 million, it would be 70 million. So, right there.
And at the time, the value compared to now, 70 million at a time in this period.
2006.
2006, yes.
So I said that, look, if that's the case.
It was big money.
It was big money. So I said, look, if that's the case, we will lose this battle. Obasanjo will win this battle. Because the only way we should act to make sure Obasanjo lost this battle was, let's get to make as much noise as possible that the press, the union, the academia, and everybody will join us in fighting Obasanjo. Well, after my press conference in Osogbo, the next thing I knew was, one, first my house was invaded, not by government, I believe by those who, I shouldn't say I believe what I knew, but I think I knew. My house was invaded. But beyond that, a number of houses of reps were invaded because people thought we had been given the money. I never said we were giving money. What I said was, it was disclosed that money would be given. But was money given? Oh, yes.
Money.
Oh, yes. Not only was money given, many even fought over the money given. I was the only one from Osun who did not take money. Every member of Senate from Osun, every member of House of Rep from Osun took money. And I knew the one who gave them the money. His own father was my godfather at baptism. We are from the same village. He was the one who gave the one from Osun. I know where the money was given. So when this matter happened, in fact, a good friend came to my house I used to have some chandeliers in my house. And some of them had hanging things. And he believed that those chandeliers contained microphones that could record us. So when he brought money to me, he said, we know you didn't take money, but we know we need you. I said, my friend, are you telling me you took money? He said, yes, I did. And I said, are you not ashamed of yourself? He said, no, I'm not. I said, why not? He said, because I know it will fail. So if it will fail and they're giving money, why did I not take my own money? Honestly, in retrospect, I thank God I didn't take the money. First, if I took it, my wife would kill me. In fact, I told her, when that person went away, I told her that I just lost my chance of becoming a millionaire. Because what they brought to me was not 70 million. It was far more than that.
It was double.
I can't tell you. Just calm down.
But was heavier.
Heavier. Much heavier. And I left my house to go to a man that I admire so much, Agoda. He used to have a beautiful garden. I got to his house. I met about 5 people. I met Ghana must go back. They were about to share their own. So I left the place. So you know, we used to have cars that had plate number that I asked NAS. So his gatekeeper thought I was one of the people he was expecting. That's how he let me in. So when I got in, they were embarrassed because I was not supposed to meet them sharing money. Well, I left the place. I then went to the Meji Bankole's house. He and the guy who later became a senator from Ekiti North. He was chairman of water in the House of Rep. I've forgotten his name now. Anyway, I met him another person, the man from Ijero. 3 of them. Again, I met Ghana must go back. So money was here. In any case, unless we want to pretend, a newspaper published the name and the number of the car, the plate number, when they went and collected the money from Central Bank. It's just that this country will pretend. When I wanted to catch them, all I had to do was bribe 5 people in different banks. I collected the names, I collected what money people were depositing. If all of a sudden you came to deposit this amount, and some of them were foolish. Some of them deposited the money in their
Prof, these are heavy, and it's been a long time. The issue of third-term agenda has been discussed in the public domain, and how that impacted on our democracy, and how that almost destroyed the National Assembly, because he tore the National Assembly literally. But of course, these are your views, and these are some criminal dimension of those who took money, and of course, these are your views, Prof, and they have legal implication of it. These are not views of Channels Television, definitely.
I don't care the view of Channels Television. All I owe this country, all I owe myself, and all I owe God is the truth. I'm a Christian.
Have you met a former president since then?
Which president?
The one you are referring to.
Obasanjo? No, I've not met him. And I'll tell you why I've not. Listen, I don't want to get... I thought we were here to discuss national matters.
Absolutely, but when you got it in, I mean, I know that, these are big issues that you have just made.
He himself cannot deny it. He can say it.
Would you say it to his face if you met him today?
If he's here, I will say, Uncle Shegun, I and Bolaji Aluko met Stella, his wife, in Bolaji's office. And I know what I did. I know how I followed Miwa and Stella to Colin Powell's house.
To do what?
I can't tell you that. You don't say everything. Because we needed help. Nigeria needed help. Obasanjo was in prison at that time. I know how we saved Obasanjo's life. I was head of commentary on Radio Kudirat. We were the first to announce to this country that within a time frame of 4 weeks, Yar'Adua will die, because we received information and he had been poisoned. And we published it on NigerNet, the first community of Nigerians on the internet. People called us names. They said we were alarmists. But within 4 weeks, Yar'Adua died. Zach Ajuwon, who became the head of the National Hospital here, was Obasanjo's doctor when Obasanjo was in prison. We knew what we did to get message to Zach. Zach and I worked at the Baptist Hospital of Ogbomoso when Zach was a houseman and I was head of lab and my wife was head of pharmacy. Let's not get into all that. But the important thing was we did our best to save those we could save. We were not able to save all.